There's an evolutionary upsurge taking place around this planet that is gathering momentum and gathering intensity. And the intelligence of that upsurge is not to be found in government offices or boardrooms or conference rooms of major institutions. Believe me, I have worked there. It is to be found right here at the kitchen table, at the office table, where people are beginning to try and work out what is next in our evolutionary steps. This movement is called We the Human Change. You'll see it on this little blackboard at the back, We the Human Change. And this is not just a title of an organisation. This describes, as accurately as we could find, a certain truth about our current situation. Now, we have in recent evolutionary history assumed in some way that science would be able to solve the challenges that we face. And make no mistake, I'm sure you would agree with me, the challenges we face are absolutely enormous, such that the scientific community is now using terms such as catastrophe to describe the impending disasters and perfect storm of events that is likely to take place over the next extremely short time span, maybe 25 years. What exactly the sequence of those events is, we do not know. At this very moment, fires are raging around London, parts of America, floods in India. On any given day, turn on the news if you are not aware of this, read a newspaper. How can anyone not be aware that these events are consuming our world? But the shift that has begun to take place is that even the scientific community are reaching increasingly a consensus that unless there is a human change, science cannot possibly address these challenges. And here is the beginning of this project, you see. Human change is not just reduce the amount of waste, put in a low energy light bulb, all of these things which of course do make sense, but it's talking about a new human level of evolution, a different kind of consciousness of our human part in world affairs. And probably no one in history ever expressed it better than Einstein when he said, very presciently as it seems, the significant challenges that we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking that we were at when we created those challenges, those problems. And this suggests many, many things, but two obvious things. First of all, that the external challenges that we face are to do with the level of our thinking that created those challenges. We very rarely see the exact tie-up between the external world and our internal thinking. And, most importantly, the elevation from which we can address those challenges is one that we are not currently occupying. Now this brings me to this evolutionary upsurge, and I hope you join us. I really so hope you join us and enroll on this 9-part video program. I'll be at different kitchen tables. At the moment I'm at the centre of the We the Human Change project in Greece, but I might be in different locations, but always with the idea of joining us in a very intimate circumstance, sat at the kitchen table. If you join up, you will be receiving these 9 enniants, as we call them, these 9 segments of a comprehensive and integrated human change development. You'll also receive the template, and I'll come to that as the last thing in just a moment. And you'll also receive a booklet where some of the major issues of our times are looked at and addressed from a new level of self. Now, this new kind of integrated thinking, this new kind of catching the way of being human while we are human, is what we hope people will catch all around the world. It's already happening, and work out what is next together. The amazing resource that's not being used, which is in absolute abundance, there are 7,000 billion of us nearly, is the human intelligence resource, that we have lost the engagement by which we can solve our own challenges. We are no longer the responsible answer to our evolutionary challenges. And this invites you, if you would, to join us in becoming responsible for our own evolutionary emergence. Now, what you'll receive when you join this program is a template for change. And I've got one here, and my wife and I and my business colleagues and I, we always put this down at the beginning of a meal or when we sit down for a coffee or a cup of tea. And when issues come up, we use this template to understand and find a compass about what next steps to take. This can be anything from the challenge of argument and disagreement to the challenge of thinking about the major catastrophes happening around the world and what is the inner platform of thinking that has caused these, and what would be the elevated way to think about climate change or the acidification of the oceans or the freely accessing of resources of the planet, or how to think about the planet. Every issue needs some internal elevation before we make the external perception of what is the issue. That's to say, we're often framing the challenges from an insufficient elevation of self. Again, we could use another wonderful Einstein phrase, that to continue to do what we do in the same way and expect a different result is a definition of madness. And surely there is an element of this in the way we're addressing these catastrophic or impendingly catastrophic challenges of our time. The template, simple though it is, took 40 years to conceive. I began this 40 years ago, and I developed it in its current form to present and to work with people at the United Nations in New York. And in fact, one of the directors of the United Nations has joined me over the last 3 or 4 years to further evolve this template. And we wanted to make it available to people all around the world as the way to address the challenges that they face personally and collectively as a human race. And each week you will receive a video of myself sat at a kitchen table with my box of everyday things, which will open up on the first module, or Enneant as I call it. And we will begin to show the matrix or the membrane of an evolved conscious human, moving from why we do what we do to how our alignment of self is, to why we do what we do, to what we do, and the behaviors that we demonstrate across 3 octaves of evolution, finding ourselves as we are on the very edge of a new step of evolution. And that consciously understanding this template, consciously understanding the growth pattern of this template, allows us to locate ourselves in exactly the right position to begin to access and resource the greatest of all human intelligences, which is the intelligence of what is next. Yes, IQ, yes, emotional intelligence, yes, all the other human genius intelligences, but the real human genius is to do with us being able to take a part in a conscious part in a contribution to what is the next step of our own evolution. Care to join us? I do hope you do. It's a human movement. We, the human change, is who we are. There's no difference between us. We are the change if we take up our human responsibility to be so. See you on the other side of this at module number 1, to do with human purposes. Thank you very much for listening.